Here's a fun fact for you guys is when we first opened the store in 2010, we've been selling a lot of the times is the G&G CM16 Raider, the most basic thing out there and the most durable time of this gun. At a point where this became a rental gun for a lot of fields such as Hollywood Sports, Tax City, you name it. You probably would have seen this in either of your early stages of your airsoft season, career, just in general when you started off. But there is one thing that we know that G&G is known for, is to be battle tested. In fact, let's learn a little bit of Japanese, specifically the word Batto. Batto is basically the stern actual martial arts training of the Japanese, which is known as Batto Jutsu, which basically stands for quick strike. At the same time, very battle ready. Today we have a very special guest, and it is not this guy, but more of the new innovation from G&G. So I present to you the CM16 Batto. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Airsoft Master. And today we're going to be talking about is the CM16 Battos. Mainly the one we have here is the more like of the actual normal variant that is out there. Again, they got the ideal of the perfect meaning of the word Batto, which is a very short and quick agile type of weapon that you'll see in the actual Batto Jutsu. Again, battle ready and at the same time very quick on the strike. Nothing basically goes wrong with being quick on the strike with these guys being at the actual standard of more of the 10.3 inch barrel. But before we get into that more, let's actually go into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you feel like something this would you want to actually cop or own, check us out at airsoftmaster.com. But until then, let's actually get started with the video. So the ideal concept of this rifle, the Batto, is again, keeping the concept of what they mean by it. Short, agile, and at the same time battle ready for quick strikes. The same thing can be said about this rifle, as it is starting off with an SBR, a short barrel rifle that we've seen a lot of military personnel would use around the 10.3 inch outer barrel. But let's go ahead and get into it as we always normally do, going working our way from the front end to the back end of the rifle with a couple key features on there and seeing what makes it actually a lot more battle ready. At the same time, of course, you're going to end up with is your 14mm negative threading underneath with the orange mandated tip. So again, if you want to change it for any other tracer unit or suppressors like G&G's would have, you can do so as long as it's a 14mm counterclockwise threading. Now, again, they do have is a metal outer barrel on the actual end of it. What's nice about that is it's free floating like we've seen on most of their new generation of rifles. So again, it is nothing to see in regards that aspect. But what is known to be actually seen is this new design on the rail. Again, it's very lightweight, and of course it has to be as an M-LOK rail segments as we always seen on the actual 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 6 o'clock positions out here. You will also have is a 12 o'clock is the actual 20mm Picatinny right on top, which is monolithic all the way through, alongside to actually put attachments like real estate such as your Engall, light laser systems, or heck, even an optic like I do have here. But in case if you don't have any optics, you do have is what G&G provide is a nice backup sights from the front and rear. Basically, you'll end up with is your high tower sights out here, but say for example, we're in close quarter situations. Again, we would want it to be a little bit more low profile. The good news is G&G helped provided that with fiber optic sights as well on your front and rear sights to help out with target recognition. So in case if your optic does go down or your PAC 15s or your Engalls or your flashlight goes down, you still have that option out there to help get you acquired and still be out there to be ready for the fight. When it comes to the receiver, one thing I do see a lot of inspirations out there is mainly is the magwell where it's kind of flared out, which kind of reminds me of their old generation of the Seekins build. And I have to admit, I did love that style, as it's more of the ISPCA, as it would help out with actually reloading your magazines really quick. And you still have that flared on the end of it to help out with assisting when reloads. At the same time, what's nice about the lower is you do have is an exaggerated trigger guard here to actually get your fingers inside the trigger, including with gloves, so it's a lot more comfortable. Overall, it is more of like the normal G&G stuff that we would see. And of course, what comes with G&G is durability. Now, in regards to the durability from G&G, these can take a beating all the way throughout. Heck, if the combat machine was able to last, what makes you think their new innovation wouldn't change? Surprisingly enough, it has not, as these are still the most durable rifles that we've seen out here when it comes to the polymer liner receivers. And definitely you can see that all the way throughout with the attention to detail. Now when it comes to the AR controls, you're going to have the same thing as normal of being safe, semi, and full auto on the left-hand side. Sorry, lefties. But what also makes it interesting is G&G become thoughtful about it is when it comes to the magazine release it is ambidextrous. As for lefties, you're able to release the mag with your index finger ready to go. Unfortunately, the bolt catch is not going to be ambidextrous, so it's still standard on your left-hand side to help release your imitational mock bolt and reveal your hop-up. Either way, it is a very rugged type of low receiver and easy controls that what we normally do expect for our beginners for airsoft and for the new innovation from G&G. What does this mean about the G&G Gearbox? Does it live up to its name? Surprisingly, I can say that without a doubt. Yes, as this has the MOSFET integrated gearbox, also known as the MIG. The same thing you'll see on your ARP 3.0s and also the FAR 556 and 9 mils, those new generation of gearboxes, with a good amount of details that have changed. But of course, we're going to end up seeing is your heat-treated gear sets. The typical what we've seen is the reliable piston head, and alongside the good compression from the cylinder body to the cylinder head on this thing. What makes it really different in comparison to this new generation is the quick change spring system for a lot of the beginners to make it easier to change it out, which is using a certain tool, a long tool that's provided by G&G, to get to the back of the spring guide, exchange it, and basically change it to whatever spring FPS you want it to be for outdoors or indoors. Again, a lot easy on that concept with no more tools needed or disassembly in general to get to the back of the gearbox. Good idea for our beginners and a good idea for innovations from G&G. To complement the internals on this gun is what let's go ahead and talk about is the hop-up. And for the hop-up, it's easily to be shown as once we pull the charging handle, which releases the actual mock bolt to show the rotary style hop-up that we have from G&G. And of course, what we know about G&G is they're very reliable and universal when it comes to their rotary style hop-ups. What complements the alongside with their hop-up chambers inside the Batto is a 604 brass Type 4 barrel. It's a lot better to help out with the groupings out there, so it does make it easier for the player to have a better, more accurate shots out there. At the same time, what's nice about this is you're able to, I've seen, basically hop up to 3 O's and probably more than that with a indoor FPS out here on this gun. So it's a pretty good setup. And of course, last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about the stock, which I do like the new design for this stock is the GOS V15. It's a lot more slimmer than the ones that we normally see on such as like the gas blowback rifles that I did review last year, but we do see that less surprisingly brings up more, as this buffer tube and stock can fit an 8K style battery inside the buffer tube, and it is very slim but still able to hold even such as the actual crane style stock batteries that you do have from G&G. Other than that, in storage places, you're also going to get is your QD sling mounts on the back end of the stock, which does help out to keep it more transition if you want to use a 2-point sling system if needed be. If not, you're still able to have is your ambidextrous sling mounts for either 1-point slings out there as well. What's nice about this stock is it still keeps everything slim and simple, so when you hold it up to your cheek, it still keeps a very low profile altogether. So why don't we do what we normally do on Airsoft Master, is talk about magazine compatibility. Well, hold that thought. Still recording? Oh, okay. All right, cool. These are the mags that actually can feed inside the G&G. Surprisingly, like the high cap we have for the Lancer Tacticals, even its own G&G high cap magazines, you will have no problem with when it comes to feeding the magazines. But what if you're using a milsim game as a backup for one of these rifles? Well, for mid caps wise, you have a selection of the Spectre arms. Of course, you can't go wrong with PTS EPM, the regulars. And last but not least on my favorites is the EPM1 shorts or EPM1s, as they will feed flawlessly, no problem, for the Batto series. I'm using 0.2 gram BBs and 11.1 LiPo battery. So when we chrono the actual Batto CM16, one thing we did notice is that the FPS that we did have on here on average was around the 330 to 350 FPS, ready to go for indoor outdoor fields that are CQB friendly. But if you want it to be more outdoor or milsim ready, you do have a chance of changing out the spring FPS for a more stronger actual FPS on here by just using the tool on the back end of the gearbox, release the spring and change it out to whatever FPS you would need it to be. So when you do purchase your CM16 Batto, what does come with it inside the box other than the gun itself? What you do end up with is a G&G mid-cap magazine that holds 120 rounds, and at the same time the tool guide to help you out in changing out the spring in regards of whatever FPS you want it to be. Again, it is supposed to be a quick change spring guide system by only using the tool without really disassembling your gun out the box. That is a good idea. Other than that, you're also going to see is your actual operation manual to help troubleshoot or do the proper maintenance that you need to do to keep your AEG gun up and running. Meanwhile, it does come with a certification from 101 Tech, the G&G distributors, as a 90-day warranty just in case if something does go wrong. Basically, they can help you provide the information that you need or just how to actually ship out the rifle if you have any issues out there. Overall, does the Batto hold up its name to the title for G&G? As it's been holding a long reputation for battle ready, such as the CM16 Raiders and the SRXLs, you name it, it's most likely the G&G lines that you'll expect out there. Surprisingly, yes, it does. The fact that it's able to take magazines, no problem. It's also in its internals can be ready for a gate Titan MOSFET. It's pre-installed, ready to go if you want to change out the actual trigger harnesses to a more updated MOSFET out there. At the same time, what we know about the Gearbox is it's a very reliable system, as we know from G&G with the heat-treated gear sets, the good known pistons that we've seen. The compressions is always good and on the dot, and alongside a hop-up that is universal to most magazines that are out there for the airsoft community. So, is it something that you would buy? Well, for mine, beginner aspects, I would say yes, as it is a good deal. But don't take my word on it. Don't forget to drop a comment down below. And again, if you're looking for products like these, check it out at airsoftmaster.com. But my name's Mike. I'll see you guys till next time.
This video is brought to you by Airsoft Master.